Hello, everyone. I had an interesting conversation about best and being your best, and how that is something that you have to give yourself grace for, give yourself like room for, but also understand that you can't be manipulative of it. And I had this conversation with my wife because she had to make a commitment statement to her work, and she said that she can't say that she'll do her best because she feels like she can't give her best, right? Because how can you give your best every day? And that's to assume that best is linear, and this is all based on your belief system. So my belief system allows me to say I'll do my best every day, with the understanding that my best is not the same every day. It's the best that I can give each day. And that might be different with one day when I have a migraine, where my best is pretty much just knowing that I cannot do anything for you because I just can't, right? I can't perform today, period. Or if I am at the top of my game, where I've got all this new information and I'm in flow state and I'm just, doing everything just perfectly, right? Both of those are my best for my clients, but it's not a linear best. And to me, that is not a manipulation of the word, but from my wife's perspective, it is. And it's not something that she could commit to, because in her mind, her best means that she is absolutely doing the best that she can based on the 100% of her effort. And I think that's where a lot of us get it gets really gray when it comes to helping somebody out. Because on the one hand, and it goes back to, I think, a video I posted very recently. On the one hand, your perspective is, well, I'm doing my best based on everything I have going on in my life, based on my current health, the information available to me from my business partners, the information that I know, and the experience that I have. Where the best from a client's point of view might be getting the best care or getting the best Medicare plan or insurance plan for them. And in all honesty, you might not even know what that is, because your client might have a completely different perspective or completely different kind of mindset on what that looks like, right? Because it just might be the case. And then you can never really meet in the middle, because nobody knows where their starting point is from, which is why I say the process is the key. Because the sales process anyway, is something you can break down, something that you can have like a joint thinking process or decision process when you are providing any kind of consultation or advice. So what can we learn from this little exercise, this little conversation I had, is that you have to really be careful when you use certain terms. When you use terms like best, even terms that are not superlative, which is like absolute, right? Where like number one in, that's an absolute term. Number one in something doesn't really mean that you are number one in everything. Like number one in overall status means that you are number one, number two, number three, number four in different metrics, but overall you are number one. So, it really, really comes down to your command and your interpretation of the English language, and the person you are speaking to, their command and interpretation of the English language, which is very difficult whenever you're dealing with consultation, when you're dealing with somebody else. Because the way I build my mental models, and that's how I think of life, and everything that I do is a set of mental models. When it comes down to like the thinking process, like when I think about things, is usually in the form of mental models. There are things that, of course, don't fit into mental models, I agree, but for the most part, I am thinking in very, very highly, very, very organized mental models. And a lot of people have difficulty doing that simply because their thought process is controlled by feelings, by emotions, by how something makes them feel. And that's okay. But when that happens, you have to kind of recenter the perspective and the focus, and also bring in something I like to call reason, right? And that is an unfortunate truth, but I like to think about it as being human, right? So is it reasonable to think that a person who is making these very, very difficult decisions with a lot of thought process behind them, is it reasonable to think that they would perform their best every day of the week? No. Everybody has bad days. Everybody does. I do. I have a lot of them because of my migraines. So I tend to have a lot of them. Some people have far more good days than bad days. Some people tend to focus on their bad days instead of good days, and some people tend to focus on their good days instead of their bad days. And that's individual throughout the board. You can normalize that curve based on data sets, but that, like, come on now, that's ridiculous. Do not treat yourself and your clients as the norm. Treat them as who they are. So I think that hopefully this kind of just talking through can help at least a little bit alleviate your concerns about, really doing your best, and maybe just saying that you are going to put your best effort forward, and just know that some days are not going to be your best effort. Some days just can't be your best effort, and some days you can qualify that and say, well, my best effort today is simply not talking to anybody because I'm sick, because I have a migraine, because today's a bad day. And know that that's okay, because as humans, we're allowed to do those things. More and more as our society has this like work until you drop dead mentality, which I think a lot of people are kind of getting a PTSD from. Know that that's not okay. To burn yourself at both ends nonstop, that's not okay unless you are somebody who thrives in that kind of environment. There are people who thrive on nonstop, go, no sleeping, no breaks, and they just enjoy that. They're not hurting in that sense. They are enjoying it. And if you're one of those people, awesome. But if you're not, and that's okay. You have to be able to give yourself grace, give yourself, a little bit of slack, cut yourself a little bit of slack, because we're all human. And as long as we are trying to do things morally and ethically, I feel that most people that I have come in contact with do tend to agree with that. They do things morally and ethically. And even though it might not be the ideal, in their mind anyway, outcome, it is an outcome that is acceptable and doesn't ruin someone's life. And that's kind of where I say that's, you have to be able to operate in some level of morality with ethics, and also come from a point of, our intentions may be good, maybe coming from the best place, but the impact of those decisions that you make with your intention and your actions sometimes aren't always placed or interpreted the way you intended. And it is important to understand that that is just simply the way of life. That's it. That's all. And that's okay. All right, I hope this helps you guys somehow. Gives me perspective when I do these kind of videos with myself. So have a great day, do good things, and I'll see you in the next video.